Hello everyone, and welcome to today's SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar on marketing to your mobile customers. I'm Bob Hogan, the webinar coordinator and a business mentor at SCORE Fairfield County, and I'll be your host. Our presenter today is Kate Berg. More about Kate in just a moment, but first some brief information on SCORE. SCORE is a national organization with over 320 offices and 11,000 volunteers across the country. Started in the mid-1960s, and we're part of the Small Business Administration. Locally here at SCORE Fairfield County, we have over 100 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. We have 3 primary value-added services available to small business owners. The first would be one-on-one counseling, which we can do on a face-to-face basis by telephone, email, or Skype. The second is we offer a range of educational workshops and webinars like the one we're doing this afternoon. And the third is we offer extensive resources on our website, including access to a network of subject experts that can be at your disposal. Our next webinar is on November the 8th on how to run a successful consulting business, and look for the specifics of that on our website at scorefairfieldcounty.org. Just a few points about today's event. Today's webinar will stop sharply at 1 p.m., and it is being recorded, and the link to the recording and the slides will be available on our website at scorefairfieldcounty.org within the next week or so. We've set aside time today for questions and answers at the end of Kate's prepared presentation. If you have a question, I'd encourage you to use the chat window at any time during the presentation. It's in the lower left of your screen. And if you could do that during the presentation or after the presentation, that would be fine. I now have the pleasure of introducing our speaker. Kate Berg is an accomplished executive and entrepreneur focused on disruptive innovation in technology and media. Kate has held leadership positions at Gartner, KPMG, Jupiter, and HFMUS, now part of Hearst. Kate has built and sold 2 businesses. Most recently, she served as president for Collective Buys, a high-growth social shopper media company. I'll now turn it over to Kate. Kate, all yours.
Well, thanks very much, Bob, and welcome everyone to this SCORE webinar. Really glad you took the time out of your day to participate in this, and I would love to underscore Bob's request to use the chat function. I do present most often in person, and those workshops are extremely interactive, and I find that the participants get a great deal out of one another's experiences, successes, things tried, and comments. So, my presentation portion will be kept to a minimum so that I have an opportunity, if we can, to really kind of delve into things that you're thinking about with your business and questions that you may have, and hopefully we can elucidate for the entire group. So without further ado, I will tell you a little bit about my background. I know Bob gave you a little bit. I've got over 20 years and in technology. I've been involved in a host of different types of businesses, IT research, and as Bob mentioned, social media has been and mobile have been focuses of mine. And it's been interesting to be involved in sectors that are and were quote-unquote disruptive and emerging, because with the example of mobile and social media, those became sort of blended into the rest of business itself. As technology has rocketed forward, we don't really think about, you do think about social media being its own entity, but it's part of a marketing strategy. Mobile is part of your marketing strategy. And so it's been an interesting thing for me, being a SCORE mentor for many years, to sort of see how my discussions have changed as the industry has changed. I've had some experience in fundraising for the companies that I worked with, and this last role definitely got me involved in the blogger community, which has also informed my thinking about marketing strategy, and so we could certainly touch on that and how to use what are now called influencers in your marketing for your business. I think it's an important element and certainly very effective. My experience has been focused on using bloggers or influencers at scale, hundreds or 50 or more at a time. But I've also seen it done with local or smaller businesses on a much more manageable cost basis of a handful. And if you've got a target audience, it can be extremely effective. So feel free to ask about that as well. Really, the first thing I want to impart is something you probably are aware of, that in order to think about marketing your business, it must be digital. And asking if you should invest in digital marketing for your business that you're planning or that you're growing is like asking if you want to be in business in 5 years. It is a full necessity. So it isn't how much do I do or do I do it. It's how do I make this happen and do it smartly with maybe limited resources. And the reason for that is, of course, behaviors of consumers have changed radically. We only have to look at ourselves and our kids and our parents to see how we've all changed and how we function. And I've talked to some people recently that aren't even investing to replace desktops that are aging. They feel they don't really need unless they're a big photo editor or something. A desktop has become less and less necessary. A laptop and a phone, iPad, or of course if you have Android, those equivalents are really where people are at, and the numbers are higher now. So it's tilted to the mobile has increased its share to be more than half of our time is using our mobile devices. So I don't really think I have to make the case about that too much more, but I would say certainly for your businesses, smartphone search is important because people's search functions still tend to be, even with the growth in our behaviors of using mobile in general, we do tend to do things in the moment for that relevant search to do with where we want to buy that thing right now, today, where we would like to eat, see a movie, and so forth. We use social for research. This is, depending on your habits. I personally am not a big user of social media for my research because I just don't tend to operate that way. I'm very comfortable in Google search, but the data shows that people are increasingly using various social media sites for research on who to do business with and what products to buy. It's peer-to-peer, so it may really be something that you're relying on a friend or a neighbor or a relative to ask them via those social sites, or you may see ads based on your interests popping up in Facebook or LinkedIn. And again, ask about this later. Make a note if you want to talk more about that. But for you can really use personalized information, and you can build relationships via these social sites and really take advantage of where people are going to find information. And the great news is you do not need to be technical. You do not need to be a wizard in any of this stuff. It's all been made very rudimentary to be able to be effective as a business owner. Authenticity, explaining who you are, how you help people, connecting with them in various channels. Those are the important things really for you to do to build those relationships. And 1 minute, I'm just going to go on to the next. So in Google, I think I didn't talk about in this last slide, among the search engines, of course, Google is the dominant one. And so this is important because they're playing a variety of roles online, and you can take advantage if you understand Google's reach and their importance. you can really use your knowledge about Google and the local elements and the way that they play a role online. For example, going in to claim your business on Google Plus pages. These are place pages that they have developed in the last couple of years. And if you haven't claimed your business yet, or made a mark, and put a pin in, if you will, in Google's place pages, I would recommend you do that. In talking about further dominance of Google, really, these guys are probably, 90+% of the market. And a few years ago, they developed a software and implemented it called Hummingbird. And the reason I talk about this is that it changes the way, and you maybe have noticed, how your search results come to you when you type in something. In the beginning of the search engines, you had to sort of put in words that a librarian or research expert might call a Boolean search that were, this related to this plus this. Now you could type in, how do I find a senior care home for my mother? You can just type that in, that question, as if you're asking Siri, and that's called semantic search. Google has made those innovations to really help give the user a more accurate search result. It's a great service to the internet consumer audience, but it's also really good for Google if you think about their advertising model. Why that's important is your website, more than ever, you're benefiting yourself for being found out there if you plainly describe the business you're in very clear language, and and have content that is relevant to that topic. It sounds obvious, but I think some of us, if our sites were built a few years ago, they probably need to be revisited in the frame of mind about how semantic search affects how people could possibly trip over your site. Again, you may have questions on this. I'm used to an in-person dialogue, so please, ask if you do. And then, of course, Google Plus is a really important thing for small businesses because that helps you become visible. It adds to your presence in search results. You'll have another place that you can pop up via Google Plus. So that's something that you should go and just create a company page. It doesn't take but a few minutes to do. It doesn't cost you anything. It's a great tool for you. Sorry, I talked about this out of order. This is the Hummingbird software, and talk about describing your business well. So those are reiterated points that I'm just covering again here. Next is really kind of pulling back from our detailed focus on being visible online via search. And certainly mobile is I kind of take for granted that all of this is happening, via mobile, since that's the topic of today's seminar. But the behaviors that you should have as a marketer really haven't changed despite the mobile push. You really still have to focus on, through mobile channels, getting new customers and making sure you keep those customers happy through fantastic customer service. Obviously, loyalty, reviews, and referrals. You can lean on social sites in order to pull that stuff through so that people see that as they search and interact and talk to their friends. And you are getting the equivalent of, applause and ovations as people are making determinations on, should I keep doing business or do business with you for the first time? I think if we look at our own behaviors on how we evaluate our decision, it can be more educational than anything I'm telling you. If you just study your own behaviors Your customers are just like you and how they go about making decisions. And the data shows that the purchase journey for people today is unbelievably 7 or 8 different stops online in various places are happening during their research before they even reach out to you, before you would ever know that they were thinking about working with you, doing business with you. They have already done their own research and made a fair amount of preliminary decisions. So that kind of can be scary, but it can be very powerful if you take advantage of that in how you're framing your customer's journey, how you're giving them data points and info to make decisions upon. And of course, using data to find customers. So forget them, not being passive, but being proactive in really trying to use data. One example would be, of course, Facebook. And maybe some of you have had success using Facebook advertising. It's extremely effective. Cost-effective simply because you can target, people over 50 that are interested in finding senior care for parents in the Fairfield County region. I mean, seriously, very, very granular. And so you are not wasting marketing dollars going after people that aren't in that bucket. So that's an example of using data to find great customers and keep those customers. Happy to talk more about that as well. So, maybe you've been marketed to and been dealt with in terms of having companies remember that it's your birthday, remember product preferences, anniversaries. I think in large companies we're used to seeing this as consumers because Amazon, obviously, as the bellwether there, has shown us that this is they know these things about us. But for a smaller business and perhaps a local company, it is extremely powerful. And I think why it is that it's timely and it's relevant, just like my Amazon purchases. But that feels valuable to me if I've already got a relationship with you, and you're paying attention to the fact that, hey, maybe this hasn't happened to me, but my hair salon who pings me on my mobile phone to tell me that my appointment's tomorrow, if they went the next step and said to me, it's been 8 weeks since you've had your hair colored, it might be time to book. Would you like to book? Sarah is available. To me, that would be a home run. And I'm just thinking, it just happened to occur to me, that would be a great way to ensure my business. What if I was thinking about going somewhere else? So they could use that data to kind of grab me and pull me in. With mobile, also, don't forget about video. Video is, sorry, I'm skipping around a little bit, but video is a great way. I've started to see some fantastic use of video on social sites, which of course are viewed via mobile with your customers. And it doesn't need to be long form. These could be short messages that make you a personal, authentic friend as a brand. So think about experimenting a little bit with video, and then bumping back up here to email and mobile. I think sometimes email gets overlooked when marketers are talking about their mobile strategy, but email for a certain age group, which I would say is 35 and over for today's market, maybe not the younger millennial yet, but once people start working, data shows once you've got a job, even if you're on the older end spectrum of the millennial market, email becomes a fact in your life. And so it can be a powerful centerpiece for you as a marketer to marketing your business because you are in their face every morning and several times a day. I think I saw some crazy stat that we check our phones 60 times a day or something. So think about that, and obviously you've got to be respectful about your email habits as a marketer. I'm not crazy about people who over email me, and I'm sure you are not either. So use judiciously, but build that relationship. Certainly is an important tactic to not overlook. So, dipping back in a little bit to social media, and the question I get in these workshops always is which ones, are good for me, and I think the hard look at who your target audiences, your target customers are. Marketers call this personas. Your marketing persona, for that, let's go back to my hairdresser example. That persona, you could have 3 as that hair salon. You could have a young gal, 25, who's on a budget but likes to splurge twice a year and, get a great haircut and highlight. You could have the other 2 personas being, whatever they might be. But it's important to map those people out and give them as many habits, characteristics as you possibly can, because that's going to answer the question of where they might go with their browsing habits, with their interactions with tech, and that's what this forum is about here. Or what you do. If you're a business, a consulting service, and you are purely interested in selling people your computer repair services, for example, I think LinkedIn is probably a really good choice for you. I think Google+, great choice. I wouldn't even disagree with the idea of YouTube. Maybe you do a couple of cool, clever, creative videos, and that, is part of it. It's instructional, maybe like 1, 2, 3s on how to keep your computer in good repair, and you pop that up on YouTube. So you really have to think about what you do, the audience you're trying to reach, and pick a couple. It's unrealistic for small businesses to try and do them all. So pick a couple and get really good at them, and invest a significant amount of time. I would say, 10% of your day should be spent in your week, should be spent really feeding those channels, and that's why it's impossible to do to do them all. You can certainly use tools like Hootsuite, which is HOOT. The second word is suite, as in a hotel suite, SUITE. Hootsuite is a great tool that's an aggregation tool that shows a bunch of different, it gives you a dashboard of all the social media channels, and so you can aggregate your content, create it once, and have it go out, say, to several at the same time, which is great. It's fine. I think it's good as long as I want to reinforce that these social channels are conversation channels. They are not broadcast channels. I see too many examples of people just shouting about their businesses and not taking advantage of the fact that social media is social. It is a two-way dialogue, and that is, when you get done with this seminar, maybe I can give you an example that'll make you remember this. I look at social media as a cocktail party, and if you had somebody walk in and just start talking without listening about their stuff and their vacation and their job, and they were broadcasting all about them to you, they would not make a great party guest, and you would probably sidle away from them and find the bar as quickly as possible. But if you go in and you listen as a guest, and you're listening, you're going and trying to understand what people are talking about, what the room is about, what the vibe is, and then they're talking relevantly and appropriately to mix in and to add value, that's a good party guest, and that's my analogy for social. Good social practices. So one other thing, so social, of course, by virtue of mobile tech, has become mobile. So choose your platforms, commit through cross-channel marketing for maximum effect. That means when you put out an email, mention your Instagram and make sure that people have a reason to go there. Say, check out our Instagram feed for the hot picture of the week, of that house or that product or whatever your business line is. So that's cross-channel marketing. So that will really help build your community of fans, fans of your business. It sounds fancier than it is, that cross-channel marketing. But if you have a newsletter, for example, you should do this and really let people know where to find you and how to interact with you. And give them a why. Give them a reason to get involved in your brand. I feel like this is a big thing that large companies are starting to get. The revolution has arrived, and when we can interact directly with our audiences, and our customers, we do no longer have to guess at what they're interested in. They're telling you, they are out there, and we can talk directly to them. I think it's quite something. But you've got to be able to be bold about how you use those tools. So I think I've said enough on that. I'm going to go on to the next slide. No mobile discussion or social discussion would be complete, of course, without mentioning, how dominant Facebook has become. Luckily, they've really boned up on small business. They've really invested in their small business advertising services over the last number of years. They had to, because small business is the last mile. They already grabbed the dollars from everywhere else. Now, small business is responsible for 90% of the growth of our economy in this country. So naturally, nobody can afford to ignore it, not Facebook or anybody else. You guys are the lifeblood. But they had to make it easier to do business with them. So now they've got people that will actually answer the phone and will talk to you, help you place ads, help you manage campaigns. It's really not it's not that hard. If that's something you want to choose to devote, some marketing dollars to, and test it. And then measure how successful you were after a quarter of doing that. Take 3 months. Look back and say, I put X amount of hundreds or $1,000 into it, and look at that. I got 3 new customers. I got $3 for every $1 I invested. Great bet. I'm going to keep using that Facebook, just as an example. I think, frankly, Facebook is a great way for small to mid-sized businesses to establish a presence on smartphones, because when you create your Facebook page and you advertise with Facebook, you automatically have a mobile marketing presence and a strategy without having to do any extra work, because they are, obviously very committed to mobile as a platform. So you're stretching your visibility, I'd love to, during the Q&A, I'd love to get some of you to share any success stories about how you've used FB advertising to market your business. So, this call now button is a literal, thing that you might in the recent past, if you wanted to make sure your website was good for the mobile device, you would have to really kind of make sure your web developer had that particular widget put in there. You don't anymore. This is part of responsive design. That's the term I'm sure maybe you're familiar with, which means if you are readdressing your website or maybe building a brand new website today, it's going to naturally, anybody who is a decent web developer designer is going to be doing it in what's called responsive design, which means they code once and it looks gorgeous on any platform out there that somebody would want to use, even including probably the iWatch, because it's got to be truncated down for short, text version and look beautiful on larger formats. So, but some basics are still important for in general. I mean, you still have to decide what you say and how you say it, and obviously making sure that people can reach you the way they want to reach you is critical. And I'd say, phone, email, and social channels are critical. And there are a couple companies out there, as this number 2 indicates, Yext and others, who will help keep your info updated. So what this is talking about is there are people out there who keep track of companies like you. And if you're a part of a group of services, say in the hairdressing, in the hair salon services, or senior care, using the two examples I've used, there are aggregator directory type companies out there that are keeping that info updated. And it can be a problem if you have changes and you want to make sure that those changes get reflected throughout the web, and make sure that when people are searching for you mobily, they're getting the right info. And there are companies that have popped up, like Locally is Yext and UBL, who will make sure that stuff does stay updated. And then, of course, a sort of a basic thing is that when your site does appear mobilely, it should really be thought through what kind of copy you're using. Like, don't have giant paragraphs of copy, because I don't care how big or small it is. I don't want to read that much when I'm out in the, running around and trying to get information. So you really want to think about when you're build out, try to be brief. And I think that's a good rule for any. It's a good rule of thumb. It's a good rule because for any place you're going to put copy. People are very visual, and the growth of social sites like Instagram and the web, video, which is absolutely taking over the web now. Why? People are visual. They do not want to read. So bear that in mind. You do not need to think about, oh my gosh, I've got to write all this copy to describe myself. No, you really don't. Think creatively about, and go Google around and research how other people are, presenting themselves, and in your sector or in different sectors, and do some brainstorming about how can I creatively get my value proposition across visually. It's a lot more fun, I'll tell you, than writing a lot of copy or reading a lot of copy. So make it easy for people to do business with you is the other point I would make. And then avoid too much text. Use graphics that are, and don't put in graphics that are difficult to read or take a long time to load. I've seen maps and things that, frankly, are being done now automatically based on the web's construction. So don't stick stuff in there that's going to be like a super heavy file that's going to take a long time for somebody to sort of get loaded on their phone. The best way to know is to try your stuff out, obviously, on a variety of devices. So I suppose no local business, small business discussion on social and, by virtue of that, mobile would be complete without mentioning good old Yelp. It is not everybody's favorite on the small business side, and I can go into that a little bit now. But one data point here is on a customer service front. If you want to focus on really doing well on Yelp, just really work hard on over-delivering on customer service, because it will put you in the 5-star category very quickly. And you only need a couple of great 5-star reviews there to sort of pass muster for most quick searchers, and then you're in the game. However, the opposite is also true. If you have screwed up your customer service, you can get into a world of hurt with Yelp. And if you don't pay to advertise, it can be ugly. Okay, so Jessica Cooper asked, and I apologize, you guys, I wasn't looking over on the chat here. Says, for Facebook, how many tests would you recommend, and over what period of time? What types of tests would you recommend? Probably getting a little bit too specific for my knowledge. I'm a strategist. In general, however, I would say that the answer to how many tests I would recommend is going to come when you see data that tells you something. If you're interested in seeing if an offer at a certain price point has appeal, and you get what you would consider a decent amount of leads, that test has been successful, and you go forward with a proper paying campaign. You go forward with that same tactic. And beyond that, what I would recommend is truly either Google the question you've just asked and use the words Facebook, and you will see a lot of information. There are people, many hundreds of people around the world who make their living advising on things like Facebook advertising. I've seen some terrific blog information out there, and Facebook itself has customer service, as I say. If you want to advertise it, you can pick up the phone or write them and say, I want to advertise on Facebook, and you will have somebody calling you right away, and you can ask them these questions. I'm sorry, I just don't have that level of detail of knowledge. And Bob Hogan, to all, please remember to submit your questions via the chat feature. Oh, okay. Thank you, Bob. Back to Yelp. This is, so I guess just to reiterate, if you're a restaurant, or something like that, it's kind of essential. Yelp tends to favor independent businesses over chains, which is great for you, I'm sure all of you. I would stay on the side of goodness. I did have a client a couple years ago. They were a car service, and they had somebody give them, I think it was a disgruntled former employee, give them a really bad review, and they battled with Yelp on the phone quite a long period of time. I would love to tell you that the story has a happy ending, but it did not. They could not dislodge that poor review, which was bogus, and it was a 1-star write-up. What we determined as good strategy is you have other pieces of content, other social success stories, other happy things that sort of drowned out that Yelp review on the visibility side of things, if that makes sense. So we killed it on other areas so that became less important in the aggregate. And then this is just reiterating my point of that social media is people and conversations. Incorporating social strategy into your business marketing is really, really critical, and it will really increase your mobile visibility. So don't ignore those channels. So Google says almost 70% of consumers are more likely to buy from you if you have a mobile-friendly website. So make sure that you're taking the time to do that. And if your site's already built, and these are companies that it's very much of a commodity now to just have this mobilized and to be converted. So those are 3 companies: Screenfly, Mobify, Mofuse, and there are others. And if you're wondering what others, Google it. What company can help me make my website mobile? And you'll get a listing. Those I've vetted, though. So test those, test, make sure your site looks good by using different, so you can use, sorry, I'm just trying to find my note here. Yeah, Screenfly, that'll help show you what your site looks like via mobile. Tips. So really, not 10, but 9. For some reason, I have 9. Don't know why. To going mobile, optimize it, as we just talked about. Test it, also we just mentioned. Begin with the basics. In other words, if you're overwhelmed by the notion of, my gosh, I have a lot of things that I sell, and I have a lot of areas of my business, a lot of nuanced communication, start with the basics. Start with the big buckets of things that are going to pull people along in their purchase decision-making journey. Make sure you mention those key words that are critical in your sector, and make sure those are right front and center on your site and in your social. Well, this is basic, but limit or resize your images. Your images need to be able to, to be converted well to various sizes. And design for touch screens. And what that means is, don't give me a form to fill out, with typing, because when I'm on my phone, I don't want to do that. So if you want to know info, maybe as a marketer, you give them a couple of choices, and they click a button and say, yes, this and not that. So don't make them enter info. Cut down on content, simple site nav, make email messages mobile friendly. And this, again, constant contact, exact target, some go-to CRM companies out there, customer relationship management companies, have already made this an easy deal for you. All you have to do is use the mobile template. I don't even think it's an upsell anymore. I think it's just part of their offering, or if it is, it's a small amount to make your email messages mobile friendly. So make sure you're doing that. Sharon Alston asks, what changes or strategies would you recommend, especially for Facebook, for converting likes, comments, and shares into paying customers? Yeah. If I could answer that question, I'd probably be the chief marketing officer of the best company you can think of. It's definitely a long game. The answer I'm going to tell you, Sharon, is that you would want to continue building that relationship through relevance and through timely offering of content, of information. So not everything is a product, right? Content. That's why content marketing and influencer marketing has exploded, because you have to be relevant to me, and how you can do that is by providing me knowledge and info when and where I might be interested in. So I would say a content marketing strategy would be great. Let's say I've liked a picture that you posted about, I don't know, I can't think of an example of, let's say the senior care example of a nice activity at the senior center, and you liked it. How I might build that into paying customer is the next time you happen to see something, because you've liked it, you're going to now see it in your timeline in Facebook. I could say, as the senior care company, here are 5 strategies for making sure your elder care is well managed during the holidays, or things to watch out for to make sure your senior in your life is getting proper health care. There's a ton of information around senior care that you can impart great value to your audience, and that's, would take you a little bit of time to write that up, but think about how valuable that is to your audience and how you can build loyalty there. So that's one example. Melissa Manchero says, would you recommend focusing on going mobile rather than a blog to increase online presence? I wouldn't recommend going mobile because it is, what am I trying to say? It's axiomatic. Mobile is already part of it, the blog. If you create a blog and you are posting it on your site and you're putting, here's my new blog post in your newsletter, people are reading that on their phone, and then they're clicking over and they're reading that on their phone. So it is mobile already. But you have to think about, you don't want long form, and I think that's probably my biggest point there is your quote-unquote blog should be, 300 or 400 word posts, which is a paragraph, and visuals. And then that's going to hit 2 birds with 1 stone. Does that make sense? So this is just a little bit about, I want to make sure we're not running over, so I only have a few more minutes, and I want to get to your questions more in depth. So I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Texting is an interesting thing. I gave you the example about my hairdresser. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you've been marketed to via text based on your interactions with your businesses in the last couple of years. I have so far just really gotten sort of appointment reminders. The only time I got an interaction was AT&T sent me a little survey after I had been on the phone with them, and I found that very effective, and it actually made me feel that they were on the ball. So might want to look at that. Build your list. So build mobile into your database. Build those numbers into your database. Collect them. People are asking for them now. You're starting to see that. You know, you see Google, when you're logging on, Apple, they're looking for your mobile number now. This is misspelled. Did anybody, any sharp eye catch that? This is only to say, before I was talking about Google+, this is this place thing, and you have to claim that online, local business results. And this will automatically give all this information. This should be hot linked, so that person can just click right on the phone number. So make sure you go in and you claim your local listing for Google. I've done this for a company. You fill out a form, and you will literally get a postcard in the actual snail mail from them to say, is this really you? And then you're good to go. So do that. So helping customers find you, text to sell. Create a mobile opt-in program. So this is an idea. This is not a necessity. That you could say, do you want to sign up for, we offer, let's say you are computer services. Twice a year we offer a discount for new businesses to help them get their IT set up, or, I don't know, anything. You think creatively, and you certainly need their permission to, just as you do with email, to have a relationship with them via text, but that can be extremely effective. So use it in the same way to you could. I've seen some business owners have talked to me about doing this. I haven't seen it as a consumer myself, but if you want to see new products before anyone else does, this would be like first look. I would love that if I went to a boutique and they were like, look, we're only going to text you when we have, a sneak preview. That'd be cool. I would use that. So be human in your marketing, create real, authentic connection, tell a story with your brand. This is an opportunity, back to Chiron's question, talk about, when you're giving tips, for example, on that senior center and helping make sure seniors are taken care of, their health needs, tie it back to the business, tell that story. And when Betty at our senior center was, showing up and she had bruises, we made sure that she was actually falling, and we didn't realize she needed the next level up of assistance because she was losing balance. And, tie it back to your brand. This is real stuff. This is the value you're providing. Measure your results. Cannot emphasize that enough. You cannot know what's working well unless you measure. And this is, metrics is a big scary word. Data, big scary word. All it means is, you put out five emails and you got, one response. That's a 20%, response rate. Be bold, experiment, why not? You can always change it if it didn't work. Engage through social. I talked about centerpiece of your program being email, employ cross-channel, visual, run contests, creativity, and emotion. One thing, I've covered all this before, but one thing I didn't say was emotion is critical. Emotion is what we buy on as consumers. So engage your fans through emotion, and visual images certainly inspire emotion. So if you know that as a marketer, you can really exploit that. And I don't mean that in a bad way, just you can use that for your advantage. I don't think I really want to go through these. These are specifically text campaigns, and I don't think we want to use this time unless we have some time at the end, so I'm going to skip that. And I can certainly go back if you want to know about text-only campaigns that were done in, different settings for brands. But I would love to have other questions or other dialogue if you would like.
Okay, thanks, Kate. Now we're going to try and use the rest of the time here for questions. We have taken some questions along the way. I would encourage you to use the chat feature to provide any further questions that you have for Kate. So we'll maybe just wait a minute or two. But Kate, maybe while we're waiting, I know there was a lot of interest about Facebook advertising, and maybe you could talk a little bit about at a high level about that, how people might go about that campaign and some of the key things.
Yeah. I mean, I think that some of the things that we've talked about already are really going to tie right back to using Facebook and effectively for advertising. Being able to think creatively and using visual increasingly important for Facebook as a channel. They have a new video advertising offering, which is extremely effective. So again, some of these things that we've covered, if you are already thinking about employing them well, are going to work beautifully for approaching Facebook as an ad channel for your business. I can talk about. Okay, we've got a question here. When doing video for advertising, should we also use live feed on Facebook? It's so situation dependent. You would almost have to say, what are you trying to accomplish? What is your goal? And with any marketing tactics, and now we're talking mobile, of course, but with any communication strategy, you've got to say, what am I trying to accomplish? That's the question that I'm sure your SCORE counselors ask. What are your goals? And if your goals are new customers, if your goal is visibility, then live might make sense. It just sort of depends on what you are trying to achieve on a very basic level. What are your thoughts on drip campaigns? Wexler, isn't he a SCORE counselor? Devil. He's sitting right across the table from me, and he's typing this question. What are your thoughts on drip campaigns? What are your thoughts on drip campaigns? Do you have thoughts on drip campaigns?
Yes.
Share them. Help a brother out.
Well, this is from a different angle, though. Right?
Yes,
but the whole purpose of drip campaigns is to periodically remind your potential customer that you offer service. So initial drip campaign might be, hello, thank you for inquiring about our product. Then maybe a week later, another email sent out. We haven't heard from you. Do you have some more questions that we can answer? And you may have 4 or 5 separated emails based on they go out every week, every 10 days, whatever. But just to continue the conversation with the potential customer.
And did you like that? And if you did, you may have a bucket of your database which is returning customers or people who are on your list who have never bought yet before, right?
And you can also do what's sometimes called A/B testing, where half your customers get one style email, another half gets the other style. So it's the first half is considered A, the second half is
yeah,
considered B.
and that's a good point, Herb. And actually, the A/B testing is often done with the headline. The headline itself might make the difference. How you word that headline, what day of the week you send that email out. Those are A/B examples that Herb's talking about. I've heard that short headlines, and you might notice this in your Gmail accounts, short headlines are proving statistically more effective. So, and I'm starting to get emails from companies that are very conversational, very personal, like stuff you would get from your friend on a text, like, hey, wait, look at this, and very informal language. So marketing has shifted to be a lot more informal. Apparently, that is more effective because somebody's A/B tested that at high levels in national companies. Keely Christie asks, hard to hear the current man speaking. Sorry about that. Herb just turned the phone around, and he was basically just talking about A/B testing, which I mentioned, and he was talking about drip campaigns, which are intended to be not one-off marketing messages, but really a series of messages that are leading a customer down a path and checking in with them and seeing if they read that piece of content that you sent about senior care. And if not, here's a hot link to go back and read it, if you missed it. So drip just means that it's an ongoing conversation with your target.
Okay, thanks. Are there any further questions? Kate's covered a lot of ground here today and a wide range of things, so I'm sure there's got to be a few more questions out there. We've got about 5 or 6 minutes left if
Yeah, and if you don't have questions, I'd love somebody, if they've had experience that has been either a roaring failure or a fantastic success with a mobile strategy, a company you thought was good at what they did, share it here on the chat, because really in the workshops that I do, it's just massive value between, people who are just really in the trenches together working to build businesses. I'm currently not, so I think, arguably I have a lot of strategic knowledge, but you guys know an awful lot, and it's important to share, and that's probably a little advertisement I would make to make sure you're networking. You can learn a lot on Tuesday night where maybe you're tired and you want to sit and just watch TV and not do much, but if you spend an hour in a networking for small businesses meetup group, it's amazing not only the customers you could meet, but the things you can learn. And so do devote some period of your week or month to getting out and meeting other successful entrepreneurs. It's a very valuable thing, and will help you keep current, because if you're talking to other entrepreneurs who are on the top of their game, they're going to be doing the strategies and the tactics that we have discussed today, and they're going to help you shortcut your learning curve. So thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, I think if there doesn't seem to be any more questions coming in on the chat, we'll maybe give it 30 seconds or so here, given Kate's request to please share. And
all right, don't share. Thank you, though. Appreciate it. And I love the questions that we had, and I'm sorry I just do not have an intimate familiarity with Facebook. If I did, it would have been a few years ago anyway. And the changes are rapid. But their own, now that I'm thinking about it, not only do people make living off of blogging about Facebook and make it their business to know Facebook's new things, Facebook itself has a massive, content machine that's basically selling Facebook advertising. So go find it. And you are very welcome, Melissa. Thank you guys very much for your time and attention, and good luck.
Okay, thanks. I think we'll wind it up here, and we're almost out of time. And so just a reminder that we do have now at SCORE 2 webinars each month. The next one is Tuesday, November the 8th at noon, and the topic is how to run a successful consulting business. And so on behalf of SCORE, I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's live webinar, and a reminder to visit our website, scorefairfieldcounty.com, if you want to access the slides or a replay of the session today. And in closing, a big thank you to Kate for presenting today, and have a good day, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.